Take hands, close your eyes, be in a magic space. As above me, so below. As without, then so within. The power's mine, the light divine. The magic now begins. By fire and water, air and earth, my magic brings the spell to birth. By light of star and moon and sun, as I do will, so be it done. My name is Oberon Zell-Ravenheart, and I am the Wizard Oz. Previously, the magic world was, in another galaxy long ago and far away, or through the magic wardrobe, or somewhere over the rainbow, or in some ancient lost land that never really existed, or you can't get there from here, basically. And all the stories are like that, except this one. My life has always been immersed in magic. I've lived in magic the way a fish lives in water. My earliest reading were children's versions of the Greek myths. So the ideas of gods and goddesses and magic and wonders, those are my first stories. On full moon nights, I would sneak out of my bedroom window and go naked out into the night. It was this weird little ritual that I did. I had a lot of connection with animals. It was really deep. And I felt I had a telepathic connection. The strongest one of that was my first boa constrictor, Hista. In my dreams, I could look out through her eyes, and I felt her connection with me. And then I felt her let go at the other end. It's always sad when they die right before your very eyes. Within my soul, I have the soul of a snake. When you're a kid, you don't think of yourself as anything unusual. Everything that happens is normal. When I was a kid, I was a prodigy. My father took me to the University of Chicago and had me taken through a whole bunch of testing stuff in the psych department. All my results were just off the charts. He said, well, what am I supposed to do with this, with a kid like this? And they said, well, just support him. They thought I was just so strange, they wanted to find out whether I was okay or supernatural or whatever it was. They regarded me as some kind of weird mutant, I think. Certainly, I retreated into the world of myth and magic. And eventually, my path just took me so far away that my parents couldn't follow me at all. I left them far behind. I was really always looking for my own true people and my own true home and stuff. And I'd had this vision and idea of moving to the country with a bunch of friends and living in a community. That was the hippie dream, too. We all wanted to move to the country with a bunch of friends and get it together, and we did. That which unites us is more important than that which divides us.
Okay, Tarzan.
We are all one in the infinite sun, forever and ever and ever. Ayote, no, no, ayote. I know. Ayote, no, ayote. I know.
Back in 1961, I read a book called Stranger in a Strange Land by Robert Heinlein, wherein is discussed a kind of a science fiction religion called the Church of All Worlds.
The Church of All Worlds. It's meant to be inclusive. It's meant to embrace the wisdom and the good stuff from all different traditions and not be exclusive to any one particular one. And so we started that.
O Sun, creator and source of all terrestrial life.
Our initial mission statement was to make the world safe for people like us.
May you reign forever. We love you with your own love, oh, our God star.
There were lots of people on the ranch. There was like 100 families who moved up there. Even there, I was somewhat unusual. When I was tasked with trying to create this kind of revival, there wasn't anybody else doing it at all. It was just me. Somebody said, so what kind of a church is this? And I said, well, I guess you could say we're pagans. And that caught on like wildfire. And so now there are millions of us. People are drawn to my dreams and want to be a part of them and help make them come true. That's part of my little magic. That's my magic as a wizard. My search had been to find other people of my own species. And as I gathered around me such people, that was really what became my family. The greatest magic of all is love. It's pure magic. Let me be united with my true life mate, my true love.
I'm Morning Glory Zell.
Sweeter than all the roses.
Oh, Morning Glory. Oh, man. The love of my life, the most amazing woman. Who else could possibly be the appropriate mate for each other than each other? Morning Glory and I recognized each other instantly. From the first moment we looked into each other's eyes as true soulmates. We knew we were bound together for life. We were so bonded in those ways. I mean, the wizard and the witch. And that was the moment that my life changed the most dramatically. Love is that condition wherein another person's happiness is essential to your own. Morning Glory and I had always had a fascination with things on the edge. Mythical animals and bestiaries and all this stuff.
And everybody has their own creative way of making a living in the country. A lot of people do arts and crafts type thing. Some people do farming. We raise unicorns.
Of nature that is called hand.
Like I say, it's a dirty job, but somebody's got to do it.
We uncovered the work of a veterinarian from the state of Maine in the 1930s who was doing research in horn development. They start off as nodes in the flesh. If you move these around a little bit, then the horn would develop wherever they are. And what came out of this was a unicorn.
And finally this evening, the unicorn, a mythical beast according to most, a 3-star attraction according to Ringling Brothers, Barnum and Bailey.
That elusive creature of fable and legend, the sensation of the ages, the living unicorn.
The real magic happened when we took them out into the world and the way people responded to them. They touched people.
Do you believe in unicorns?
Yes.
Why?
Because I just saw one. I never thought that it was real. I always thought it was a myth.
We became part of a myth, and sometimes you think you're doing the magic, and sometimes you realize the magic is doing you, and this was one of those moments.
I believe in the unicorn. I believe in the unicorn. I believe.
Which was blighted considerably by a tragic event that happened. A terrible story hit the paper, and that was the worst mass murderer of the 20th century, Leonard Lake. He'd been our neighbor when we lived on the ranch. He was a great homesteader, and we learned a lot from him about livestock and keeping care of animals. When we went to do the Renaissance Fair, we brought him along to do photography, because he was a photographer. He would go around to schools and take school pictures and stuff. They took him in on a shoplifting charge, and he immediately committed suicide.
The local coroner says 5 bodies have been found here so far. The Calaveras County Sheriff once told me, though, he believes there are as many as 20 victims, though, buried on the property.
The papers went to his wife and asked if she had any pictures of him that they could put in the paper. And the picture that she gave them was a picture of him with the unicorn. And so the unicorn became associated with this horrific mass murderer because he got called the Unicorn Man. People obviously made that confusion between me and Leonard. To be confused with mass murderers is a pretty awful thing to happen. So there was this contamination of the whole thing that really was terrible and tragic and devastating to us and all, and to the magic. Now that's been decades ago, and I think the world has forgotten all that stuff. In fact, for that matter, the world has forgotten the unicorns. When the unicorns aren't around anymore, people forget they ever existed, and they once again become mythical beasts. The wizard travels through the world. But there has to be some kind of a vision or a reason to have whatever the adventure is going to be. Somebody asked the question, he said, what's the difference between a basilisk and a cockatrice? So we looked it up in the Encyclopedia Britannica, and it had an amazing story. The basis of that legend, the origin of it, was in a real-life animal called the Egyptian spitting cobra that sprays its venom unerringly into the eyes of its victims and blinds them. And that gave rise to the idea of all of this stuff, the basilisk, the medusa, the cockatrice. And we thought, wow, that's so neat. I'll bet that there is a truth behind all these mythical beasties. There's something that is the core of the legend, the little grain of sand in the heart of the oyster that gives rise to the pearl.
New Era, N-E-W-E-R-A, Naturalists Exploring Wonders is the new, and ERA is the Ecosophical Research Association. This is a research organization designed to explore all the weird stuff. Unicorns, dragons, sea serpents, Loch Ness Monster, Bigfoot, Atlantis, whatever we think of. Basically for crazy harebrained schemes for doing amazing adventures, and that's what we expect to pursue.
The reports had been coming in about these creatures that were being sighted on an island off of New Guinea. And we had just gotten some minstrel money from the circus deal, so we decided that let's go out and find them.
Yeah, it's Kerry on Reef Explorer. Do you know who you're talking to?
Yeah, are you looking for that weirdo animal up there that they're sighting?
Yeah, that's an affirmative.
What were her hands like?
Look like human beings. Got fingers, 5 fingers, 2 eyes, 2 ears, got a mouth on it.
Now, you had a drawing. Did you want to show that to the
yes.
Camera?
Earlier, Alphonse, I drew this drawing. This is his sketch as done by him as an eyewitness.
Mermaids. That's what you got out here in the bay? Yeah, we see these things all the time.
From here on up, we'll be wanting to stay pretty close to the shore and make frequent contact with local villages. These would be the type of places that they might hang out.
Good morning. We fella come along fast belong you fella?
Thank you. They say it's fine, we can come along. Be happy to have us come in the village.
Em long desala pala long matatay kat plan din long desala. O se pelas blongen. Desala base ni pelas blongen.
Okay, this is where they live.
We didn't really have a good clear idea what it actually looked like.
There it is. Did you see that?
Yeah.
Look at
that. Whoa!
The tail was quite large. It looked just like the one in the photographs.
She had been shot. I thought that we were going to find an evolved aquatic ape with ape-like features and such like that. As it turned out, of course, it was the Indo-Pacific dugong. And as we were able to explore the story, and as we were able to interview separately the men and the women of the village, we fleshed out the story a little bit.
Is this the same animal that we saw with its tail flipping up in the air?
Yes.
They call it the Pishmary, the fishwoman, which is pretty much exactly the same as our word mermaid. It's the men who do the net fishing, and evidently what happens occasionally is that if they catch a mermaid, they would take it into the men's house and have sex with them, and then they would send them back into the water, and then the story would build. That was the basis of the legend of the mermaid. We solved the mystery. We did a big report for the Cryptozoological Society thing, and we came back pretty broke. The brightest lights cast the darkest shadow. I've had some very bright lights and some very dark shadows. The darkest moments of my life have been the ones that would be best exemplified by the Tower card of the Tarot, where everything that I had been invested in and committed to in my life and my fulfillment and my joy and happiness were just totally obliterated. It still surprises me when I look in a mirror and realize I am actually old. I'm not feeble yet, but I'm definitely old. When you're young, you're invincible and immortal, you know, and at some point in your life, you confront mortality. She was feeling a lot of pain. She was experiencing backache and lots of stuff. When they did the biopsy and analysis in the hospital, they discovered she had cancer, and it was a profound thing, that revelation that she's doomed. You know, how long they could keep her going, but there was no cure. Her last moments came, and I held her in my arms as she took her last breath. And there were no words. And there was nothing we could say. We looked into each other's eyes, and it's like everything else just disappeared. And one of our friends who was there held a stethoscope to her chest. When her heart stopped beating, he said, "The Queen is dead." And the whole house erupted. And one voice, "Long live the Queen."
Our guardians of sacred space, whose passions all enrich, we are all within the grace of the wizard and the witch.
There's three basic rules of things that you can't do with magic. You can't bring back the dead, you can't change the past, and you can't compel love. Not all stories have happy endings. And yet, I have to go on for both of us. I have to carry on for her as much as for myself. One of the very last things that she said as she was dying was, "Don't let it die. All that we did, all that we were, don't let it end when I die." So that's what I'm trying to do, is keep on keeping on. With great power comes great responsibility. The interesting thing about wizardry and being a wizard is that they are the teachers and the mentors of the young heroes to teach them what they need to know. I really felt that teaching is an important thing, and it's part of the wizardly practice to do, is to be a teacher. And we had this epiphany. Well, we should start a school. The Academy is a brand new project, and I'm just starting it. We created a virtual campus in Second Life where we can have avatars where people can interact face-to-face with their teachers and such. I worked mine up by sort of costuming a Gandalf archetype figure, which seemed obvious. We have classes and we have conclaves and we have graduation ceremonies. There's a memorial temple for Morning Glory on the campus. It's looking pretty good so far, and I'm very proud of it. I think part of the thing with any of these things is, will they continue when I'm no longer here running them? I have to pass the torch, because it does no good for me to know all this stuff, to spend a lifetime learning all these things, if I just take it to the grave with me. My life certainly has been a fairy tale, or perhaps a romantic comedy fairy tale. It certainly has been full of extraordinary adventures. But you know, I'm also very aware of my mortality in a way I never used to be. And you have to consider, well, what stories will be preserved? What will be told? I think about that stuff. I realize, man, everything I do all the time is a story. I don't really do magic so much as I am magic. The magic is in the stories, and we are storytellers. This is the most powerful magic that we have, is storytelling. There's a saying that is part of the funeral ceremonies in pagan culture, which is, that which is remembered lives. And so it is.